You won't believe what happened when my peaceful weekend getaway at my cabin took a wild and dangerous turn. All because of one crazy HOA Karen and her obsession with control. It started out normal enough. I was just trying to enjoy some quiet time away from the city, soaking in nature and unwinding. But then, out of nowhere, this Karen from the Homeowners Association decided she had the right to police my every move. Instead of coming herself, she sent someone pretending to be a cop to intimidate me. Yes, a fake cop showed up at my cabin, demanding things that made no sense, and trying to scare me off my own property. The situation quickly escalated in ways I never could have imagined. As tension rose, I thought things couldn't get any worse until the real police showed up, and that's when everything flipped on its head. The woman who sent the fake officer ended up in serious trouble, facing consequences she never expected. It's a story full of twists and shocks, involving threats, mistaken identities, and a moment that could have ended in disaster. I want you to hear exactly what happened, how this all started, and the wild chain of events that led to a real arrest. But I won't spoil the whole thing just yet. This isn't just about one crazy HOA Karen. It's about how far people can go when they think they're above the law, and what happens when reality catches up with them. Stick around, because the next part will dive deeper into the confrontation, the emotions running high, and the surprising aftermath that still has everyone talking. Trust me, this story is as intense as it sounds, and you're going to want to see how it all unfolds. Before all the chaos at the cabin, things seemed peaceful enough, but that was only on the surface. The HOA Karen had always been a bit overbearing. In the neighborhood, always watching, always complaining, like she was the unofficial sheriff of the community. I had heard stories from neighbors about her constant rules and how she would escalate minor things into big drama. But I never imagined it would come to this level of madness. She was known for pushing boundaries, but sending a fake cop that crossed a line no one expected. The fake officer who showed up wasn't even wearing a proper uniform. The moment he stepped onto my property, it was clear something was off. The badge looked cheap, and his attitude screamed not a real cop. But he acted like he had the authority, questioning me aggressively and demanding I follow rules that didn't exist. I tried to stay calm and explain my side, but his presence was intimidating, and I felt trapped in a situation that quickly spiraled out of control. Behind all this was a deeper conflict with the HOA, a long-standing tension about property, boundaries, and personal freedoms. Karen had made it her mission to micromanage everything, and I had pushed back, standing up for what was rightfully mine. The fake cop visit felt like retaliation, an attempt to scare me into submission. It was unsettling, but it also made me wonder, how far would she really go? Was this just a one-time stunt, or part of something bigger? As the real police arrived, the tension in the air was thick. No one knew how things would unfold, whether the fake officer would get exposed right away, or if things would escalate even further. Karen's face showed panic mixed with anger, and I knew this was far from over. The stakes had suddenly become much higher, and the quiet cabin getaway I'd planned was now the center of a dramatic showdown, one that nobody could have predicted as the night wore on. The air around the cabin grew heavier with tension. The arrival of the real officers only seemed to make Karen more desperate. She paced back and forth, her voice rising, insisting she was in the right, that she had the authority to send someone to check on things. But with every word she said, it became clearer that this was spiraling far beyond a simple HOA disagreement. The neighbors who had gathered nearby whispered nervously, unsure whether to step in or stay out of the growing storm. I stood my ground, trying to stay calm despite the adrenaline pumping through me. The fake cop's arrival had shaken me, but now with the real officers present, everything felt unpredictable. Karen's anger was boiling over, and I could see a dangerous edge in Her eyes, the kind of edge that warned something serious was about to happen. When one of the officers asked her to explain why she had sent an impersonator, she hesitated, her voice faltering just for a moment. That small crack seemed to expose how far she was willing to push, even if it meant risking everything. The tension between Karen and the officers kept escalating, with voices getting louder and accusations flying back and forth. At one point, Karen suddenly reached for something at her side. Hearts stopped for a moment as everyone realized what she was doing. The air was thick with fear and disbelief, and time seemed to slow down as the situation reached a breaking point. It was the kind of moment that no one forgets, the moment when things could either explode or somehow be pulled back from the edge. Neighbors held their breath, watching as the scene unfolded like a high-stakes drama none of us wanted to be part of but couldn't look away from. The peaceful cabin, once a place to escape, was now the center of a crisis that threatened to change everything. Just as the officers moved closer, ready to act, the story hung in the balance, a cliffhanger nobody expected, with the real consequences still waiting to come. Just when it seemed like the situation couldn't get any more intense, something completely unexpected happened. As Karen reached for what everyone feared was a weapon, one of the officers quickly stepped forward and shouted for her to stop. But instead of backing down, Karen suddenly pulled out a small device. Not a gun, but a handheld stun gun. The shock in the room was immediate. Nobody expected her to escalate things this way, and suddenly the stakes were even higher. The peaceful cabin had turned into a scene that felt like it belonged in a movie, with real danger looming over everyone. What made it worse was that the neighbors watching from a distance started to panic. Some calling 911 again, others trying to get to safety. The officers had to act fast, their training kicking in as they tried to de-escalate a situation that was spiraling far beyond a simple HOA dispute. Karen's behavior now wasn't just reckless, it was putting everyone in the neighborhood at risk. The tension in the air was suffocating, and it was clear that whatever happened next would change things forever. At the same time, I found out something that added a new twist to the story. Turns out, the fake cop Karen had sent wasn't just some random guy trying to scare me. He was someone with a personal grudge against me. That meant this whole situation was part of a bigger plan, a calculated move to intimidate me and possibly push me out of the neighborhood. Suddenly, this wasn't just about HOA rules or Karen's obsession with control. It was about a vendetta that had been brewing under the surface for months, with the real police involved. Karen's dangerous move with the stun gun and the revelation about the fake cop's true motives. The conflict was reaching a boiling point. Everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see if this nightmare would finally come to an end or explode into something even worse. The next moments were crucial, and nobody could predict exactly how this story would unfold. The moment stretched out, heavy with tension, as the officers quickly moved to disarm Karen and secure the scene. Her stun gun was taken away before anyone got hurt, and she was handcuffed calmly but firmly. I could hardly believe how fast everything had escalated from a fake cop showing up to a real arrest. The officers began piecing together the full story, how Karen had crossed every line, sending an impersonator to intimidate me, and then pulling a weapon when confronted by the real police. It was clear she had lost control, and the consequences were catching up to her. Meanwhile, the man posing as the fake cop was quietly taken aside by the officers. And I learned the truth. He had a personal vendetta against me, fueled by past disagreements nobody outside this circle knew about. What started as a neighborhood dispute had spiraled into something dangerous, involving deception and threats that no one expected. The HOA drama wasn't just about rules anymore. It was about power, revenge, and how far some people would go to get their way. As Karen was led away in handcuffs, the neighborhood watched in stunned silence. Some were relieved, others still shocked that it had come to this. But just when it felt like the story was over, there was one last surprise. A neighbor who had been quietly observing stepped forward, revealing security footage that showed Karen and the fake cop meeting days before the incident, planning the whole stunt. That footage didn't just confirm everything. It hinted at something bigger. A deeper scheme within the HOA itself. The quiet cabin that had been my sanctuary was now the center of a storm that wasn't quite finished. Even as Karen faced her arrest and the fake cop's motives came to light, the real question remained: how many others were involved, and what would happen next? The story ended with more questions than answers, leaving everyone wondering what the next chapter might bring. After the arrest, things started to settle, but the impact of what had happened stayed with me and the whole neighborhood. The HOA Karen's actions had exposed serious problems within the community, issues of control, intimidation, and how easily things can spiral when people take power into their own hands. The security footage revealing her planning with the fake cop shocked many. But it also gave hope that the truth was finally coming out. In the weeks that followed, the HOA faced intense scrutiny. Other neighbors spoke up, sharing their experiences and demanding changes to prevent anything like this from happening again. The community realized that while rules are important, respect and communication matter more. The incident became a wake-up call about boundaries and how no one should feel unsafe or bullied in their own home. For me, the cabin returned to being a place of peace, but with a new perspective. I learned to stand up for myself, but also to be aware of how quickly things can escalate when misunderstandings and grudges get out of hand. The whole experience was a reminder that sometimes the biggest battles happen in the places we least expect. As for Karen, the legal process moved forward, and the consequences she faced served as a clear message that impersonating officers and threatening others will not be tolerated. It was a tough lesson, but necessary to protect the neighborhood's safety. Looking back, this story isn't just about one crazy HOA, Karen, or a fake cop stunt. It's about how important it is to protect your rights, stay calm in tense moments, and never let fear silence you. If there's one thing to take away, it's that standing up for what's right can sometimes feel overwhelming, but it's worth it in the end. And sometimes, the quietest places hide the most unexpected stories.